My name is Conrad Ruckwitz, and I'll be doing a presentation on GMOs in food, a moral panic presentation. Let's get started. Before I discuss the moral panic in GMOs in food, we must discuss what a moral panic is. A moral panic was first coined and made popular by a man named Stanley Cohen. Stanley Cohen explained a moral panic can be a group or idea that emerges that is perceived to be a threat to current societal values and people. Cohen often explained the real threats of moral panics, but claims they were often exaggerated in impacts and severity. Sociologists often study moral panics to see how societies perceive threats and how power shifts. The moral panic of GMOs in food. GMOs have had a controversial stigma attached to them since the idea was made real in 1982. The public perceives them as having many unknown risks to human health and potential genetic defects, allergens, and toxins hazardous to human health. The public also sees GMOs in food that could be invasive species and kill off biodiversity. They also see certain governments in Europe are more careful about GMOs, so that also must mean they're bad. A brief history of GMOs in food. In 1973, Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen, biochemists, developed genetic engineering by inserting DNA of a bacteria into another bacteria. In 1982, the FDA approves the first GMO product, which is human insulin for diabetes. Throughout the 90s, the first GMO produce was created, such as corn, potatoes, beets, carrots, peas, and tomatoes, to name a few. In 1992, the FDA creates similar safety requirements for all GMO products to make sure they are good for human consumption. In 2003, the FDA and WHO creates international safety standards for GMO products. And in 2015, the FDA approves genetic modification in animals for intended consumption. Different viewpoints on GMOs and foods. Certain people have different viewpoints on this topic. There are pro-GMO activists who believe GMOs can improve food quality and improve shelf life and how long before the food goes bad. By genetically engineering the food, they believe they can make foods healthier with richer vitamin contents. They also believe by genetically modifying foods, we can make them more resistant to viruses. But there's also anti-GMO activists who believe genetic engineering could tamper with nature and eliminate certain species, as we discussed before. They also believe if antiviral genetic engineering happens, superviruses could have become a real thing. And they also believe genetic engineering could have negative health effects on humans. GMO foods effect on the United States. GMOs in foods have had mixed effects on the public and economy. On the bright side, the United States public saves an estimated $14 billion per year from GMO foods and products. Since farmers are able to grow more produce, this is cutting costs for consumers. But on the negative side, consumers are more on the fence about food labeling transparency. With certain customers not buying GMO products, farmers are forced to grow non-GMO products to compete. Health concerns of GMO foods has led to stricter quality control on foods and labeling quality control for GMO products. events that brought panic and uncertainty about GMO foods. So in June of 2013, the state of Connecticut becomes the first state to require and mandate labels of food with genetic modifications. In May of 2014, Vermont passes a similar bill mandating labels on GMO foods. In 2016, Pat Roberts and the chairman of the Senate of Agriculture Committee introduced a bill for national GMO food labeling. And then July 14, 2016, the House of Representatives passes this bill, and then July 29th, President Obama signs the bill into law, making national labels for GMO products. Since all of these labeling mandates came into effect, people started to question the health concerns of GMO products. They thought they were bad since they weren't being labeled. And this was all brought to light in 2016 after Obama made the mandating label after he signed the mandating labels for GMO products. Applying what I learned. So by doing this project, I believe you shouldn't believe everything you see. You should do your own research to determine if an idea is harmful or helpful to society. Look at pro and opposing viewpoints. Make your own judgment before seeing something else. And oftentimes, moral panics are often used by social elites for power and social control. Here is my works cited page. And thank you for listening to this presentation.